Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which will be all about my favorite foundations for very dry, more mature skin. This is a video that I've been talking about making for some time, and I guess I always held myself back because I'm like, okay, I haven't tried this one, I haven't tried this one, I haven't tried this one. So let me just modify and call this the video for my favorite foundations for dry skin, obviously of the ones I've tried so far. Sometimes I'm my own worst roadblock with regard to getting the videos out. But in any case, I do have really great choices, both drugstore and high-end foundations to share with you that I really enjoy, that are good for my dry skin. And so if you're curious to hear what those are, along with a couple of honorable mentions, let's go ahead and begin. But before we get started, if you do enjoy the video while you're watching it, don't forget to give it a like for me. It really helps. And also consider subscribing if you haven't already, as I would love to have you join me for a future video. Now let's begin. I have 5 foundations to share with you today, and before I share those, I do want to share that my preferences for foundations are going to be for light to medium coverage, and I prefer a more luminous finish. So the foundations that I'm going to share with you are all kind of along that vein, but I do have a range from lighter coverage to heavier coverage, and that's how I'm going to present them for you. I'm going to go from lighter coverage to heavier coverage. I didn't specifically pick only high-end. I didn't specifically pick drugstore. I just picked my favorites. These are my favorites right now, and if that should ever change, then I'll definitely update you in a future video. One last note is I'm not wearing any of these on my face today, which is really not that bright, but I'm working on another video actually, which is going to be just a look into the brand of Charlotte Tilbury, and so I have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury products on my face, including the Wonder Glow foundation, which is kind of along that similar vein. It's more of like a BB cream tinted moisturizer kind of foundation. So that's what I'm wearing. That's pretty much what I veer towards in my makeup selections. So let's get into it. I'll put prices, shade range, and all the other information up on the screen, and I'll just let you know why I like the foundations. The first one, and the lightest of all the coverage foundations that I enjoy, is going to be the MAC Face and Body Foundation. I've mentioned this and worn it in a lot of videos. I've gotten a lot of compliments asking me what foundation I'm wearing, and it's this. It's a very light, water-based foundation, and it's great. I know that a lot of people are sensitive to MAC products, so I have options from other lines in case that's the case for you, but for me, I don't really have sensitive skin. My skin is just really dry, and this foundation is great. I love that it comes in a plastic bottle. This one is the larger packaging. It's 4 fluid ounces. I think that they carry this in a smaller package as well as a larger package, depending on which one you want to purchase. And I just think that this is a foundation that looks great on the skin. It's not too luminous, but it's something great for summertime because it's lightweight. You're not going to feel like you have a mask on your face, and it looks great. The shade range is pretty good. I think MAC is a brand that has a very good shade range. It always has been, which I think is really important. And I actually like that the bottle is plastic. It's travel friendly. You don't have to worry about breaking it, and it's just a squeeze bottle. I do prefer to apply this one with a sponge. So this is the lightest coverage foundation of my 5 favorites. The next one I want to share is from Wet n Wild. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Cushion Foundation with SPF 15. I'm looking at the cruelty-free bunny and raising my eyebrows. I'm not a cruelty-free channel specifically, but I know that Wet n Wild has some drama going on right now. But that aside, this foundation is a really beautiful foundation. It's a cushion compact, and I actually did a full review of this foundation as well on my channel, which I will link up in the cards if you want to check it out. And it's a beautiful foundation. Now, it does have coconut water or coconut oil, and I think some people like to avoid coconut in their complexion products, but again, I don't have sensitive skin, and so that's not an issue for me, but it's just something I wanted to mention in case that was the case for you. You do get a half a fluid ounce in this specific foundation. The shade range is not the best. Drugstore foundations typically do not have the best shade ranges, but this is a really pretty foundation. It's just a tad more coverage than the MAC Face and Body, and I think that it's really just clever and easy to use. I have kept the protective cover there. Some of you advised me to hold on to that to keep it from drying out, and that's what the cushion looks like. My preferred method for applying this foundation, even though I've heard that these little applicators that come with them are pretty good, My preferred method of applying it is actually to take like an IT Cosmetics foundation brush. I dip it right into the cushion and I apply it to my skin. And it just gives me a really nice lightweight finish. It's really well blended. It looks really beautiful on the skin, and other products layer over it really, really nicely. Another really good option for summer, because you will never feel like you have a mask. Like, you couldn't really build this up anything past medium even if you tried. It's that kind of a foundation, but it's really comfortable. It's really, really nice. So hopefully Wet n Wild digs itself out of the doghouse so that all the people that enjoyed the brand before can continue to do so, especially a product like this, which is super, super nice. Moving right along, the next product I have to share is from Bare Minerals, and this is the brand new Complexion Rescue Hydrating Foundation Stick. This is something I picked up in Sephora. I used it in a Sephora haul try-on video, and this was my standout product that day. I have actually made quite a dent. It's kind of deep in there, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a stick foundation and it is so hydrating. Oh my gosh, like, I've heard that stick foundations are really kind of oily or greasy. I've heard that about the Tarte foundation, and I think I've heard that the Anastasia one is a little more dry. I haven't tried too many stick foundations. I do like the Hourglass, but that one is a lot more heavy than I prefer. I really love something like this. This is my great medium coverage foundation, and what I love about it is that you can paint it on and it glides. It glides as if it were liquid. It's a stick, but it just glides as if it were liquid. It blends out with the lightest of dabbing motions with a sponge or a brush. My preferred technique for blending it in is with a brush, but you can definitely blend it in even with a sponge. The reason why I like a brush is that I do paint it on my face, and so the foundation is then localized, and the brush allows me to move it around a little bit more so I can get a thinner layer, and it just looks so good. I would say that wearing this foundation, I love it. It definitely hides all the imperfections that I have. My main imperfections are in my cheek area with a little bit of discoloration and hyperpigmentation, and then I just have those fine lines and wrinkles, and this doesn't settle. It is glowy. It is glowy, so you'll definitely look very hydrated, very luminous. If you like a matte finish, this is not for you. But again, that just goes along with my preferences, and I have never gotten a better shade match than I did with this one. This is in the shade Ginger 06, and I use this as my shade matcher every time I want to try another foundation. I love the convenience of it being in a stick. You can toss it anywhere, travel with it. It is amazing. I love it. This is a relatively new find, but it just shot right to the top. I love it so, so much. Going into slightly heavier coverage, we get into the number 7 Lift and Luminate foundation. I think this has been repackaged and it now says like serum foundation, but I've done some research and the formula hasn't changed. This is something that's available in the drugstore. It has SPF 15. I purchased this one, I believe I purchased mine at Walgreens. They carry this brand at Ulta, but I haven't seen much of their makeup products at Ulta anymore. If you're looking for their makeup, you can find it at Walgreens, like your drugstore, also in Target. So they used to carry more of it in Ulta. I don't know why it's changing, but it's a really great brand regardless. And I love this foundation. It looks so good on the skin, and the fact that it's like lifting, it's very hydrating. Like it says, firmer, even skin with a youthful glow, visibly firms, lift, and brightens for a more luminous complexion. I would agree with all of the above. I have mine in the shade, let's see. I have mine in the shade Honey. Now again, like the Wet n Wild foundation, this is a drugstore foundation and the shade range is going to be a little more limiting, but it's a beautiful, beautiful foundation. I love the way it looks on my skin. It's not as luminous as the Bare Minerals. It gives you more of a satin finish, I would say. And it makes your skin look very blurred, very flawless. It's just beautiful. My preferred method of applying this one is with a sponge. So I will usually pump out like a pump and a half of foundation and then dab little dots all across my face and blend it in with a sponge, and it just absorbs really, really well. It's a beautiful foundation. If you haven't tried this one, I highly recommend it. It ranges about $16. And last but not least, the absolute fullest coverage that I can tolerate on my skin is the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. Now this one is marketed as a liquid whip long wear foundation, and that the fact that it's long wearing makes it a little bit heavier, a little bit more matte, and it just starts to stray away from the things that I personally prefer in foundation. So that's why this is the last one that I'm sharing with you. It's the heaviest coverage I can tolerate without my skin starting to like really crackle and look like dry mud and just not flattering at all. What I like about this foundation is the coverage. So if I'm looking for full glam, this is something that I might go to. If I'm looking for a foundation that's gonna last longer, this is also something I go to, because since it's not as luminous, it does have a little bit more lasting power, I find. Like, the more luminous a foundation is, the more easily it starts to break down, especially if you have oily skin. But I have dry skin, and typically I don't really worry about that too much, but it's just something to consider. I layer luminous products on top of my foundations, like the Pixie Dewy Glow Mist and all this other stuff that just keeps adding on the dew. So with this one, it retains more of a mattified presence on my skin. I find that this one looks better as you wear it. So if you have a very long day, this is a foundation that will continue to look nice. Now, at first I was like, oh, the packaging is so cool. You can pump it right on the reservoir and dab it in there and whatever. But honestly, I don't like the packaging so much anymore. I mean, I have to give them credit for being innovative and trying to be creative, and also promoting the use of their sponge right on that surface, but I don't like to use it that way. I will usually unlatch it, which has a little lock, pump it somewhere else, and my preferred method of applying this one is with a brush, not with a beauty blender at all. So I actually prefer the application with a brush because I find that I can get a slightly lighter coverage by moving the foundation again around rather than dabbing it in consistent position. It's just what's worked for me, and this one gives me the most coverage that I like and the most mattified look. So if I'm going for a mattified look, this is the foundation that I go to. The shade range is a lot better now. They also had issues when they first launched, as I'm sure you know. But if you can find your shade, I think it's a good one. It gives you a beautiful look, and again, it only gets better as the hours creep along. So this is something that just looks better well into the later hours of the day. It's a beautiful foundation and also reasonably priced in terms of a higher end foundation. If you're curious about my shade, I use the shade 3.30. I could probably go a hair lighter because my skin hasn't seen much sun lately, but I can still make it work and it looks really good. So that's the last foundation that I wanted to share in order from the lightest coverage to the heaviest coverage. Now for a few honorable mentions for reasons that I'll share as well. The first one, which you may be shocked that you didn't see in my favorites, is by Koh Gendo. One of you told me that you pronounce it Koh Gendo, and this is the Aqua foundation. Truly, this is my favorite foundation, my holy grail foundation, perfection in a bottle. I use the shade 143, which matches me really well. But the reason why I didn't include this as one of my top 5 is because this foundation has been reformulated. I got wind of the fact that it was gonna be reformulated, and so I bought a couple backups just in case the reformulated version was not as good. I did watch a few reviews on the reformulated version, and the people who reviewed it, they did share that the foundation was just as good, that it was just a little bit longer lasting than this one, which I guess that's fine. Longer lasting is a positive. But I haven't tried the reformulated version, and so I didn't want to make this one of the top 5 since I haven't really tried the version that you could get your hands up on. So it is my holy grail, but again, it's been reformulated. If you've tried the new one, I would love to hear your thoughts. Next honorable mention goes to the Natasha Nonna Face Glow Foundation. And I tried this. I did a foundation review and I liked it, but I wasn't like over the moon with it. And now that I've tried more foundations, I appreciate it more and more. This one got my attention because Stephanie Nicole always puts these in her favorites. And what I like about this foundation is the glow. If you want a luminous finish, from the minute you put it on until the minute you take it off, this is the foundation for you. I like that it comes in a plastic tube with a pump. It's very convenient. The shade range is decent in this one, but not as good as the others that I mentioned, which is why I didn't put this in the top 5. Also, this one is probably the one that has the least longevity of the other ones that I mentioned. It's not a foundation that you want to wear for 10 or 12 hours. Like you can wear it for a good 6 to 8 hours and be okay if you're dry skin like me. If you're oily skin, probably you wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. So probably not even watching this video. The last honorable mention comes from Dr. Jart. This did not make it into my top foundations because the shade range for this is just atrocious. Like, it's really bad. This doesn't even match me, but I can make it work. I have the number 2 medium deep. It comes in 3 shades. You have light, you have medium deep, and you have deep. So that's it. One of the 3, it has to work for you. And then also, this foundation has a little bit of a grayish undertone, which is a little odd, and me being so warm and olivey, the undertone kind of contradicts my natural skin color, and so it's not a perfect match. How could it be with only 3 shades? But I can make it work, and it's a beauty balm, so it's something very lightweight, very comfortable that you can just throw on. I did want to mention I've had the pump fail on me. It's interesting because if you unscrew this, I'm not going to do it because it gets messy. The pump, it doesn't have like a rod that goes all the way to the bottom. So I'm not exactly sure how the pump mechanism works, but I had a previous one that I was pumping and I had just bought it. Like, I knew it was not empty. And I kept pumping and nothing would come out. And I opened it up and I saw that it didn't have a long rod, which you would expect. But this one doesn't either. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, the foundation looks really good on the skin, and it's another one of those things that you can just throw on and run for an everyday kind of look. Very luminous as well, very hydrating, so it looks really, really good if you have dry, more mature skin. So I just wanted to mention that, but shade range, terrible. That's why it's not a top 5. So those are the foundations I wanted to share with you today. If you found the video informative, if you liked it, give it a like for me. Definitely share your favorite foundations because, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm always looking for the next best thing. I just can't help myself. And I'm always experimenting with new foundations, but for now, those are my 5. What are yours? That's everything for today. If you'd like to see a top 5 of something else, let me know what that is in the comment section down below, and I'd be happy to start gathering my thoughts on those types of products to share with you. Thank you again for taking the time to watch my video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you again really, really soon on my next one. Bye-bye.